Because sometimes people want to see, however many houses up to a certain time.
The other thing you're going to find is that people appreciate the order and the system. They like it.
Mhm.
They like it. And you, when I say eliminate the frustration, I used to go home and say, ugh, I got stomped on today. Not anymore.
How was that? Could you do it one more time? Perfect. Excellent. So here's the other thing. So Neil's original question, which I have not forgotten about, was how long are they represented? And my advice to you is, if someone checks a box that says they are represented, believe it and move forward. I wouldn't throw out that registration, right? Because you can build a database off of old open house sign-ins 6 to 12 months later, right? What I would not do is start following up consistently with people who have said that they are represented, because that really is kind of right on the line to right over it. If someone represents to you that they are represented, you kind of need to take them at their word. The way I used to vet that is, again, for me, once people came in and they were asked to register, I would review the registration. Before anybody went anywhere, I would review the registration. And then if they said, yes, I'm currently represented by another real estate brokerage, I would ask a question. Oh, I see you're currently represented. Who is it you're represented by? You'd be fascinated that 50% of the time they can't even remember the name. Wow, and so not to pry, but I'm curious, when you say represented, have you sort of been talking to somebody online, or is that an actual full-blown consultation that you've had with a contract in place for representation? You can ask that question. And then when they say, oh no, it's a full-blown contract for representation. Got it, I understand. Well, if you can remember who that is, I'd love to let them know you were here. It's just kind of a courtesy that we provide for each other. And then we can go and check out the house. But sometimes if you simply ask who, you can vet through whether or not someone's really doing, I don't have a contract with them. Understood, right? And then we go. And now in my head, I know that I maybe can have a different level conversation with them because they're not actually contracted with somebody. So remember the story I told up front, get the facts, get as many facts as you can before you just start talking. You need to understand who you're talking to and why you're talking to them. So get as much information up front as you possibly can, which is why that registration idea is in place, right? For you to gather information. It's not necessarily just used for follow-up. You need to gather information so you can have a valuable conversation and offer services that they may be looking for. The other thing I will quickly say, since we're almost to my pivot time, so Jen will be on shortly, is this: try speed open houses. Ooh, what's that? What's a speed open house? So if you're curious about how you're going to get more open houses in, what if instead of a 2 or 3 hour sitting in a house twiddling your thumbs experience? Now, for most of you, that's not happening nowadays, right? Because you're crazy busy, you're up dancing the whole time. However, sometimes you hit a lull. And is it really necessary to sit in the same house for 2 or 3 hours? I might offer it maybe isn't. And maybe this is less of an idea for today's market and more of an idea as things start to normalize. And yet, speed open houses could look like, we have a colleague in New Jersey who does this all the time. He doesn't host an open house that's longer than 45 minutes anymore. And he just markets to the fact that I will be at this house from 12 to 12:45. And guess what? He ends up getting people between 12 and 12:45. And the people he gets, they want to see that house. He's creating urgency. He's creating some scarcity there, right? And so people will adjust. And then at 12:45, he turns off the lights, locks the door, and says, thank you so much for coming, gets in his car and goes to another one and does from 1 to 1:45. So now in the same 2 hour period, he's got 2 separate open houses. clearly close together. But you see how that can work, right? So don't stay stuck in an open house has to be 2 full hours or 3 full hours on a Sunday. Start experimenting with other ideas and market to those ideas. You'll be surprised how much the public will jump on in and say, okay, I get what you're doing here. I see. You want to limit the opportunity so that more of us get in and kind of squeeze the time frame into a shorter period of time. We'll play. We'll be there. Again, with open houses today, if you have lines of 30 people, that may work less well, right? And yet, I want you to recognize that getting out of that 2-hour Sunday, 3-hour Sunday open house box might work well for you. All right, guys. So Gary is texting me saying, Rick, I don't see you on the mastermind. And so I'm going to go and make sure that I get my recording session. Some of you laughed at that as if it wasn't possible or true. That doesn't make me feel good. So instead, I'm going to go and jump on and make sure my recording is all set. I'd like to, for those of you who do not know Jennifer Henry, I'd like to introduce you to our productivity coach director and coach extraordinaire, Jen Henry. We're going to spotlight you. We're going to spotlight you because there we go. Wow, that's a lot of Jen Henry face on your screen.
Yes, it is.
So Jen, take it away, and I'll be back in about 10 or 12.
Okay, you go say hi to Gary for all of us, please. Yeah, so Gary really would text him and say, where the heck are you? And that would be a scary text to get. I don't know about you, but if I saw that on my phone, I would be dropping everything and running like mad to have a conversation with that guy. So hi, everybody. How are you?
Hello.
How is Ignite going so far for everyone?
Good, helping a lot.
What was that?
Was good, it's helping me a lot.
It's helping you a lot. Fantastic. There's a lot of stuff to learn, right? Even if you're an agent that's been doing this for a while, like Sheila, for example. Are you learning new stuff, Sheila, even though you have been an agent for quite a while? Uh-oh, you're muted.
Always learning new stuff, for sure. Yeah.
Right. That's it's good to be learning based, no matter what
Yeah.
stage you are in your career. So Rick asked me to come in and tell you guys a little bit about why productivity coaching is good for your business, or coaching in general is good for your business, regardless of what phase you happen to be in. So just so you guys know, I've been our productivity coach for 4 years now. Can't believe 4 years have already gone by. And I am still in production. And although holding my business for my son who's in college and hoping he hurries up. So because I would much rather spend 99% of my time doing coaching instead of 95 and 5% real estate. That being said, though, still being in production is extremely helpful for me because I know the market really well. I still do listings, I still take out buyers, and it enables me to help all of the agents that I coach. So regardless of what phase you are in, the whole purpose of coaching is to help you grow as a person in your business with whatever dreams and goals that you have for yourself. And if you're like most people, you set goals every year, and they might be a continuation of stuff that you had already been working towards. They might be brand new goals, right? And if you plan them correctly, and you have a person to help hold you accountable and guide you in those, you can actually achieve most of the things you set out for yourself. One of the things that we do in the coaching group, and for those of you that coach with me already or have coached with me before, you know that we create a vision board in our group because I feel that's incredibly important for you to have a visual representation of everything that is that you want to achieve, experience, or have in your life each year. And each year that changes. So why is a coach helpful? A coach is helpful because we have perspective and distance on what it is that you're working towards that you tend to not have when you're in your own world, right? And especially when you're in your own head. I really love to work with my clients one-on-one to help them realize areas of talent and skill that they might not have even believed that they had or haven't fully realized in themselves. And so that's one of the things that is so exciting about coaching. So what are the things that we do on a regular basis in our group? Well, we have a whole series that you go through if you're a brand new agent to make sure that you have all the foundational pieces that you need. Most importantly out of that is 3 very specific strategies of where you're going to create your business. So how many of you guys have an actual strategy of where you go to find your leads? You know for sure that your business is coming from open houses, it's coming from farming a neighborhood, and it's coming from social media. So hopefully you say yes to that question. And if you didn't say yes to that question, then I would challenge you to spend some time thinking of what are my paths? Because having that very specific focus tied around your goals of what you want to achieve are the first step in guiding you towards reaching the success that you want to have. So that's something that I work with my clients on to make sure that they have basically a 1-3-5. Your one goal being your income that you want to make and the number of transactions you're going to sell. Your 3 paths that you're going to use to go find that business. And then what are the exact specific steps that you're going to do in order to get there, right? So to help you with that, we also have regular sessions where you are empowered to increase your skills, learn new skills and new technologies, and then network together as a group and a community to grow your business at each phase of wherever that is. And we have agents that are coaching that are brand new, have never sold a single stitch of real estate. And then we have agents that have been selling for a really long time, and each person working on a different thing. One of the things that we do every week is we have something called Fun Hour, and that's where we are all lead generating together. And today we actually had we used to do this in person, of course, and even on Thursday nights, we would do the drink and dial, which was tons of fun. I'll be glad when that comes back because we would make cold calls and drink and have some snacks, and everybody has a lot more success when they've had one cocktail because they're not as nervous about doing that. So hopefully post-COVID, we'll go back to doing that. Today we did a project around your database, and just to let you guys know the kind of success that the group had today, because today was a really exciting day. We had 30 people participating in this project for an hour, and in 1 hour, and there were 2 strategies that they could use to reach out to their database. One was revolving around the mobile app, and one was revolving around a special that's happening right now through Keller Mortgage, where they're offering a refinance special with no lender fees, and they're offering rates of 0.25% below any average rate. So everyone had a script and a strategy that they were going to follow. And in 1 hour's time, we reached 83 contacts. We had 8 referrals were received and 4 listing appointments were achieved during this time. So an amazing project. So those are the kinds of things that we do during the week. Monday through Friday to help you grow your business. The other really cool thing that has happened is, first of all, that they're all a part of a community. They have a common goal, which is to be the best realtor possible. And they've all, developed their own little groups and their own friend circles, and they have started other projects that are not even being run by me. For example, on Wednesdays after we do our fun hour, Bogdan, one of the agents in coaching, decided that he wanted to have some more accountability and continue lead generating for a whole nother 2 hours. So he created a whole nother Zoom. So now a bunch of them go from my session into another Zoom room to hold each other accountable to make calls all the time. Then we have another group of people that are actually door knocking, doing a whole door knocking project together as a group. So that sense of community is great for all of them. I'm sure that they would all tell you what they think about it in general. One of the other most important things that I am charged with doing is helping you get to capping as fast as possible. And if you'll notice, maybe I can move my camera a little bit. We have a capper wall of fame behind me. You can see that we've got 12 agents up there on our capper wall of fame. You see them over there? Oops, I'm not very good at holding my camera the right way. All right, so those are the people in the program that have achieved that success for themselves. And some of them have earned it 100% for as many as five months. Actually, D, I think, was 7 months. Yeah, D was 7 months. So Angela Arujo just capped for the very first time, and she does not reset until September. So she gets to earn at 100% for all of April, May, June, July, and August for 5 whole months. And she's still a pretty new agent. So, you know, the program works. I work with you to tailor, you know, a strategy and a blueprint for you to follow to create a successful career for yourself. Any questions about what it is that I do or comments?
I'm really excited because I have an interview with you, well, a discussion with you on Friday. So
Yay.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Well, fantastic. Well, I am also excited. So we'll chat then.
Jen, I'll interrupt. We've been playing phone tag, so hopefully I can get to.
Oh, you're Ronnie.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Ronnie. Okay,
Hi.
fantastic. Great. Looking forward to chatting with you as well.
Okay, sounds great.
Hey, Jen.
Hey.
It's Alex. So just curious, are you on a rolling admissions for coaching?
Nope, you can join at any time. We have people coming and going all the time. You come in, then you graduate out. And Sheila was in our program. She graduated out. Donna was in our program and graduated out. I don't see anyone else that there's a bunch of people in this room right now that are currently in the program. So, and as a matter of fact, I'd like to just highlight one of those people right now. So Nicole Copens just joined our group, literally Monday. And she has never sold a stitch of real estate. Correct, Nicole?
Yes, correct. Very correct.
And her very first session that she decided to join in terms of the weekly trainings was today, which is Fun Hour. So that means you're making calls. Well, that tends to make new agents pretty nervous. So were you nervous at first, Nicole?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I could see it on her face. And so I said to her, why don't you call me while everyone's doing their things and we'll chat. And so I gave her the opportunity to do something in addition to this instead of this. And she said, no, I want to try it. And I'll be darned if she didn't have some success. So Nicole, what happened to you today when you were making calls as a brand new agent?
So I took your script, which you provided for us with the app, and I called up a colleague at one of the banks that I know, and she's a bank manager there, and she was very excited. I shared the app with her, and she asked me to drop off call cards. So I asked Jen, I said, I don't have any call cards. What should I do? And Jen, steered me the right way. And she said, use the app as your digital card and send that to her and then walk her through the steps. And I spoke with her, I sent her the app, and then I called a second person and then I shared the app. And so it was easier than it actually sounded for the first time, but yes, it was very intimidating. But Jen was there to help me, yes.
Yeah, and she did it and ended up getting a whale of a referral. So a bank manager that's going to be sending her digital business card out to people who want to buy houses. So way to go, Nicole.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone have any questions or comments? No. Okay.
I have a comment.
Yes.
If you guys are new and you haven't joined the coaching session, please do it. I get anxiety when I don't know what to do. And most of the time that I either text or call Jen, it's like an instant reply and she gets me out of the heat. So if you guys are new, I encourage you to join her session. You guys will learn everything you need to learn. You guys will learn things that are new. You guys will, get answers when you need it. She's the bomb.
Oh, thank you.
I love you, Jen.
That's so sweet of you to say that. And she has her first listing. So, the one job Rick has given me is to get you into production. So if you're looking to get into production and have some sales or grow an existing business, then I'm here to help you out in a way that I can. And I don't even see Rick back in the room. So that means we can I don't even know what we should do next. What should we do next? How about this? what is the who would like to share the most exciting thing that has happened to them since they became a new agent? Anybody can share.
All right, I guess I'll go. I just got my first rental contract. Well, the first rental contract offer accepted. So I'm very excited about that. Jen, I did put in the paperwork. It got sent back to me. I'm fixing it. I spoke to Danny, so it should be done soon.
All right, well, good
all
for
right.
you. That's exciting. And
That's
look,
excitement. Hey,
way to go. First of many, Robert. There's a talented agent right there down in square number 10. And it looks like Rick is back. So Rick, thank you for the
Rick is
opportunity to let me chat with everybody.
You are quite welcome. Thank you so much. I apologize that it took a few minutes longer. Gary is not necessary. He's known for a lot of things. Starting on time and ending on time are not two of them. So, so he was running a little late from his team leader masterminds, and so we're all set. Gary's recording. Thank you, Jen, for your time and efforts, guys. If you haven't spoken to Jen about productivity coaching, I just think you should jump in and just do that. Don't think about it. Just set up a meeting with her. She'll have a one-on-one and get you going. If there's one thing I wish I could have done differently when I was new, is to get a Jen Henry on my side earlier rather than later.
Oh, thanks. Well, I just put my email in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, feel free to do that. And I hope you guys have a lovely Ignite. See you soon.
Thanks, Jen. See ya.
Thank you.
All righty. So thank you so much for allowing me to step away. Let's dive forward. So as of yesterday, you guys voted on open houses, and then you voted that our second conversation would be around expireds and for sale by owners. So are you okay if we take that shift and start talking some expireds and for sale by owners as a source of business? You good on the open houses? Cool. All right. So we're going to start with expireds, and then we'll kind of take a quick shift to for sale by owners, simply because they're kind of just an offshoot of expireds. If you understand how the expired game works, with a slight adjustment, you can kind of fit that into for sale by owners. So we'll give you some strategies around success with both. First and foremost, what is an expired listing? Anybody know?
Yeah, a listing that didn't sell and the contract has expired.
Yes, absolutely. So since the contract itself has expired, would you think that it is fair game to reach out to?
Yes.
yes.
So the seller.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. What about a withdrawn listing on the MLS?
No.
If it
it's
says
still under
withdrawn.
contract. It's still under contract.
Exactly right. So withdrawn is just removed from the market, but the contract is still in place.
Mhm.
Expired or canceled is off the market, and the contract with the previous brokerage is no longer in place. So they are fair game.
It's amazing
And
though
so,
that you hear some sellers, they didn't know it was expired. They don't know. And some of the previous agents will leave the sign up as long as possible.
yeah, unfortunately, never underestimate how poor some of your competition can be.
Mm.
Right. So looking forward to the expired opportunity, right? Let's talk a little bit first around what that looks like, right? What is it? So where do you find expireds? Current expireds, where do you find them?
On the MLS.
So on the MLS, right? Every night at 12:01, anything that expired the previous day pops up as an expired on the MLS. If you're already in bed like I am at midnight, you can certainly get up early. Debbie, remember the old days when the MLS used to shut down at like 11 o'clock and then come back on at 5 o'clock in the morning? So you actually couldn't get the expireds until the next morning because it was shut down. But there were a lot of things that were different in the 30s. So we
Hey, Rick.
went through it. And so the expired listing is that property that was on the market and expired and didn't sell. So how do you think, just kind of give me either in the chat or unmute and let me know, how do you think the seller, the owner of that property, is feeling about the fact that they were on the market for 6 months and did not sell?
Not good. Bad.
Wants a different agent.
Not good, wants a different
Bad,
agent.
Discouraged.
Yeah, discouraged.
They can also be embarrassed. you know.
Dissolution.
Disappointed, embarrassed. I like that one, Karen, because that's an important one to remember, that there
Yeah,
are some
you
people
tell-
who are embarrassed.
Yeah, you tell all the neighbors, guess what? Great house, and the neighbor's house sells and yours sits on the market.
That's right. So there's a whole lot of, the point I'm looking to make there is there's a whole lot of emotion oftentimes tied up with the owner of an expired property, right? So who else better to call at 8 o'clock in the morning on the day it expires than somebody with all that kind of pent up emotion? And so I mentioned that to you because is it real that some sellers have emotion?
Of course.
Yes. Is it real that that emotion comes out in yelling and screaming at you?
Mhm.
Sometimes.
Mhm.
Hardly ever.
No.
Hardly ever, right? If you are truly an expired caller, the honest answer to that, if you're calling current expireds, is most people are more happy to hear from you than you would ever think.
Mm.
And you still need scripts and some skill to help further the conversation. So with the outbound phone call to an expired, what is it you're trying to do? What is your main goal with that call? Be very specific here and think before you answer.
Get an appointment.
Ah, Sheila's bringing us home. That's exactly right. Right? Your goal when you call the owner of an expired property is to get an appointment. That is different than list the property. Right? You're not listing the property over the phone. And if you will focus your conversation on the scripts that I sent to you yesterday, they came from Maria, so you should have them in your email from yesterday. And keep everything focused on what the seller is attempting to get done and not about you listing the property, you will have more success creating conversation and getting appointments with expireds. Right? The idea that you approach expireds from the perspective of, hey, are you looking for a new listing agent? My answer, if you called me, was no. If I was looking for a new listing agent, I would have called you. Right? They didn't call you. You called them. So if you called them, it's incumbent upon you to make sure that every word out of your mouth is not about you and all about them. When you take that focus and make it all about them by asking powerful questions, which we're going to get to in just a moment, you immediately set yourself apart. Anyone else who is reaching out to expireds, understand, is just not as skilled as you. I want you to kind of take that to heart, because a really important part of winning with expireds is confidence. If you do not sound confident on the phone, why on earth would I give you an appointment to represent the sale of my most valuable asset? Do you see how that goes? Right? So you have to build those muscles of confidence. And the script that we're going to go through is one of the things that helps you build and cultivate that confidence. So Sheila reminds us that the only reason you're making that phone call is to secure an appointment. I know there was conversation the other day about what's too early and what's too late and what's this and what's that. I'm not going to get wrapped up in that conversation. All I'll tell you is that the early bird typically gets the worm. right? If you're the first person to reach out to that expired and you are skilled in what you do, you get an appointment. Right? Being number 93, a little less impactful, right? So make your choices based on that. Here's my thought. If you're going to contact current expireds, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning is probably not going to work. You need to be on those appointments as they are getting themselves ready for work. How quiet it got. People got a little stoic. Some of you looked down. Did that make you nervous? What's wrong with 8 o'clock in the morning? It's like lunchtime for me. Come on. Now, there's two different versions of expireds, right? You have your current expireds. And I know some of you are anxious for the script, so we're going to get there in a second. You have your current expireds, which are the ones that are expiring daily. Hey, just by anybody who is a consistent expired caller, want to give us a quick report on what you're seeing in terms of current expireds today? Are there more, less, none? What does it look like?
There are many less.
A lot of expireds are active.
Yeah, they get reactivated the same morning. I don't
Right,
know.
so-
I don't see that many expired. I have to go widen my radius.
So what's interesting about the current marketplace, right, is that most listings that get put on the market are selling, and they're selling quickly, which means inevitably there are fewer expireds. So that brings us to, if you're interested in converting expireds, the expired has raised two hands, right? What two hands have they raised that are important? Hand number one is
Pricing. No.
Hope hand?
I want to sell my house and I want
hand
to work
number
with an
one
agent.
is I want to sell my house, right? And what's hand number two?
I want to work with an agent.
Specifically, I want to pay a commission, right? I want to pay a commission because that's different than the for sale by owner who has raised one hand and said, I want to sell my house and I don't want to pay a commission. So the expired, to me, when they raise two hands, that's kind of like this, them doing this. Hey, here I am, look over here, right? That's the two hands that they've raised. They're giving you that sign that they want someone competent to come on in and rescue them. So why not have that be you? Now, with the shortage in inventory and fewer expireds because most homes that come on the market are selling currently, the other path you can go down if you are looking for opportunities with expireds is old expireds. What do I mean when I say old expireds?
Expireds that are 3 months or older. 6 months.
Yeah, so anyone who's not this week, right, to me, has become an old expired. If they're not current and they didn't expire this week, well, bam, they're the old expired. So are you looking back to the first of the year and touching base with those folks? Are you looking back through all of 2020? Are you looking back 3 years? Are you looking back 10 years? I don't know. Guys, remember what happened in 2008, 2009? All those people from that point forward who put their homes on the market and didn't think that it was worth enough for them to actually pull the trigger, which is why they expired, right? Because they were asking too much. Don't you think they could use a little jingle to say, hey, are you aware of what's going on in the market? I saw you were on the market back in 2014 and failed to sell. Are you aware that your home may be worth substantially more than you think? And just start there. Yes?
Yes.
So continue to create benefit conversations there, right? To be able to move things forward and potentially get an appointment. Now, there are some expireds, the further back you go, the further back you go, the colder they will be. Would you agree with that? Right, so you have to be prepared for, wait, who are you? Why are you calling me? My house is on the market like 10 years ago. Yeah, I know it. And it failed to sell. Are you aware of what's going on in the market today? Many people that were on the market back in 2009, 10, 11, and 12, we find failed to sell because we had lost almost 18% county-wide in value. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you aware of what's going on in the market today? Would it surprise you to know that values are up? They may be up enough to interest you in being back on the market. Is that something we should be talking about? Right, so you're just putting it out there, just asking the question. And yet, the further back you go, the colder it will be. So what exactly are you saying to these folks? What if we decided to pop a script on the screen? If I could find it, there we go. Again, you got these yesterday. So let's just spend a little time with my friend Doris Carlin. Doris Carlin is a mega agent from Joplin, Missouri, who specialized in expireds. And I want to just bring you through the first piece of this script, because there are 3 or 4 questions that are most important for any expired script that you might choose to start with. I want to review those with you. Hey, Debbie, do me a favor, unmute and be the seller if you would. Unmute and be the seller. Let's just go through the top part of this script. Ring, ring.
Hello,
Yes, hi, is this Mrs. Orr?
it is.
Mrs. Orr, hi, this is Rick Scott with Keller Williams Realty. I'm sure that you've figured out by now that I saw you come up today on the MLS as an expired listing. And I was just calling to see if you were still interested in getting your home sold.
I came up as what?
As an expired listing. Your property was removed from the market based on an expired contract. Were you unaware of that?
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. I'll have to talk to my agent about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious, are you still interested in getting the home sold?
We definitely want to sell our house.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Debbie, Mrs. Orr, I'm curious, had you sold your home, where were you moving to?
We were actually going to go to Nebraska.
Nebraska, wow. I have never been to Nebraska. What was taking you there? I'm curious.
You know, I like wide open spaces.
Ah, well, if you like wide open spaces, Nebraska is where you can find those. Anything else bringing you to Nebraska other than the wide open spaces?
Yeah, we have some family there.
Ah, got it, got it. Whereabouts in Nebraska, if you don't mind my asking?
Omaha.
Omaha, ah, great, great, great. I've heard great things about Omaha. Have you been there often?
You know, now and then we've done some holiday visits there. You know, not a lot, but we have some kids who just were transferred there, so.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so in your perfect world, how soon did you want to be in Omaha?
Well, maybe before, I don't know, before the holiday season, the end of the year.
So end of the year. Got it, got it, got it. And knowing what's going on in the market with the momentum and the pace of the market with buyers kind of throwing money at sellers, does it make sense for you to actually be back on the market as quickly as possible so you don't miss any of those opportunities?
Well, yeah, you know, I keep hearing about all these multiple offer things, and here we are. As you can see, we didn't sell our house yet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really glad I called today, Mrs. Orr, because it sounds like you and I need to have a conversation. Hey, if we could set up a 30 or 40-minute consult via Zoom and answer all your questions, and I could talk with you about getting your property back on the market and having you ready to, and finding a buyer in the next, say, 30 days or so, and getting you poised and ready to get out to Omaha to be closer to your family. Would there be benefit in that 20 or 30 minutes?
Well, I do have to talk to my agent because, she's done everything that she could do. And I'd hate to kind of take that away from her.
Yeah. So it almost sounds to me like you kind of feel like you owe her a little something.
Well, I know she's worked hard. I don't think it's her fault that it didn't sell.
Yeah, agreed. And so here's the thing. Let's spend 20 to 30 minutes on a Zoom call. And then if you don't like what I have to say, I'll call your agent for you. Oh my goodness, I lost Debbie. Where'd she go?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah,
Can you see
I
me
can't
now?
find.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, so we can stop. It was not meant to go on that long. I really wanted to get through the first 3 conversations.
Okay.
You were a little bit more annoying than I wanted you to be. So
I'm a real expired.
and that's not to say I didn't want to role play what really goes on. But the first run through this, what I want you guys to hear is intro. Are you still looking to sell your home? That's question number 1. If your home had sold, where were you moving to? That's question number 2. What was taking you there? And how soon did you want to be there? Those are the 4 main questions that need to get asked and answered to give you the ammunition to have the rest of the conversation. Because the rest of the conversation, ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as you understand when they wanted to move there, it's pivot time, right? It's pivot to let's set an appointment. We don't need to go through the whole, can you tell me all the reasons why you think your home didn't sell? We don't need to go through all the additional questions that I asked were to make sure that Debbie understood that I cared about what was important to her. Right now, again, when she said I'm going to Nebraska, great, a lot of excitement around that. When I asked what was bringing her there, and she said wide open spaces. Okay, if they really say wide open spaces, that's not an answer, right? I can't do anything with wide open spaces. So I asked another question. Is there anything else other than wide open spaces that might be bringing you to Nebraska? And the second time around, we got to, I have family there. Kids were transferred, right? The more we had a conversation around Nebraska, the more she told me about why she wanted to be there. Did you hear that in all that? And so getting all that data, those are kind of the bullets that you need to put in your pocket so that when you pivot to an appointment, ask, and there's resistance, or you get the appointment and then have the consult with getting them back on the market, you have the motivation to use as ammunition when they start to decide they don't want to put the property back on the market at a different price, or, right? What are some reasons that homes still don't sell? Anybody have thoughts on that? What's the number 1 reason?
Price.
Price
That's
wrong.
correct. No, price is the number 1 reason. What's the number 2 reason?
Advertising or promotion.
Incorrect.
Oh,
Say again, Sheila?
Unmotivated seller.
Yeah, not quite.
Okay.
What's number 2?
It doesn't appraise?
Nope, number 2 is price. What's
No.
number 3?
Price.
Price, you got it. Want to keep going? 4, 5,
Price.
6, 7. Please make no mistake. Please make no mistake that houses don't sell for one reason and one reason alone.
Yeah.
It's because they are mispositioned in the marketplace. Now, that's not necessarily a conversation that one gets to have with an expired seller to push for the appointment, right? That's the conversation that you have at the appointment.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I find that when I work with people who are calling expireds, they're having the appointment on the telephone.
I know.
Yeah.
Right? I've done it myself.
I've done it too many times.
Back in the days when I was calling expireds regularly, I'd be in the middle of a conversation, like you ever float above yourself and looking down? Thinking, okay, why are you talking about advertising? Like, what are you doing?
Oh, sorry.
Right? So, those motivation questions bring you to a point of, again, being able to pivot and start to ask for the appointment. Now, what do we know from Diana Kokoska? How many times do you close before you give up?
5.
At least 5. At least 5. And when I say close, what do I mean in this scenario?
Get the appointment.
Yeah, so close for the appointment. Ask for the order. Ask the question. So some successful scripts that I like are things like, wow, Debbie, I am so glad I called today. It sounds like we really need to meet to be able to get you to Omaha. Now, do people objection handle saying, I love my agent, I could never leave them? Of course they do. Right, and I gave you 5 or 6 different scripts that you can then, after those motivation questions, move on to see how you can go ahead and handle things like that. Here's my thought. Don't bash the other agent. That doesn't get you anywhere. Don't say negative things about the agent's company. As a matter of fact, don't say negative things at all. Because the whole idea of your conversation with this particular seller is to keep them facing forward and excited about their next opportunity.
Mhm.
Right? Me saying to Debbie, hey, Debbie, I'm curious, why do you think your house didn't sell? That just pushes Debbie right back into the muck of failure. I don't want to hang that around my head. I want Debbie to hang that around her previous agent's head, all on her own. Right? So we're not going to ask that question. We're going to point forward. So I'm curious, Debbie, I actually have an opportunity to head over to your house in the next 20 to 30 minutes. Would that make sense for you? Again, knowing the momentum of the market, it only seems like a benefit to get you back on as quickly as possible. Surprising to me that your other agent hasn't called. Yikes. Right? Why wouldn't I just head over there? Just shortcut any conversation, just shortcut a phone call. Yes, Sheila.
That's always a thing that kind of really holds me back a lot. I hear that from top producers, like they're just going to run on over there. And I'm like, wait, I have to see all the comps. I have to understand this property. It's, you know, I go round and round. I need 24 hours in my head, you know, to go to that property. And I don't know. And I know all you top producers can say, I'll be there in half an hour. And I just feel like, I just can't do that confidently.
Just to comment, I'm a new agent, and you don't have to, if you're going to meet the person, I don't think that they would even expect you to have all the comps and everything. You want to develop the rapport. So hopefully, because that's the only time you have, you either meet that person then, or you go prepare your comps and do everything. And the agent has it, the agent's going to call her and relist it. So if that's the shot you got, I would think, like, I'm just saying, maybe you don't have everything prepared, but at least you.
But I think Rick is saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're going over there with listing papers.
Always.
Yeah. He's going over there with listing papers, and I think in half an hour, I'm going to be like, oh.
Well, so let's break that down.
Yeah, even if you go over with them, you
like with price and I don't. Yeah.
So let's break that down a little bit, right?
Help me.
Let's break that down. The idea of running right over, right?
Yeah.
All that should take is you grabbing a pre-listing package that you already have made at least 5 or 10 of from your whatever.
Yeah.
Your package of listing documents or your laptop for DocuSigning or however you're going to be working with those documents.
Okay.
The only thing you need to do, right? One of the cool things about an expired is you have a very important number. What number do you have?
It's already
He has
was.
the owner's number.
Oh,
Say it again, Ronnie.
I said you have what the other, you have what it's priced at.
You have the price that didn't work. That's exactly right, right? You
Okay.
have the price that failed. So running comps should be relatively quick and simple, right? Because it didn't sell at 539. So you know instinctively that if it didn't sell at 539 in a market that's moving as quickly as the market is moving today,
Yeah.
that first number is now wrong. You need to be in the 4s in order for this to work. So running 3 quick best solds on a $539,000 house shouldn't take very long at all, right? And what else do you need to prepare for? If you're grabbing your stuff over here and you're grabbing your forms over here and you're running some quick comps and you know the number that didn't work, what else do you need? Right? Say yes,
Okay.
Sheila.
Yes. Yes. Confidence. Confidence. There you go. All right.
Well, and so how do we create confidence? Right? We create confidence by doing things over and over and over again. So have you practiced having me call you and say, hey, Sheila, can you be over here in 45 minutes? I need you to list my house. And like being ready, I'll give you an address and you just be ready. And 45 minutes later, you call me and say, okay, I am ready. Have you practiced that? And I mean that sincerely, right? That's something you can practice so that when somebody on the other end actually says to you, yes, I actually can meet in 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
You don't freak out saying I'm not ready, right? Because if your pre-list package and your expired package, because the pre-list package is expired package is just a version of your pre-listing package, and your documents are all ready, and you have your laptop, run quick comps, and boom, you go, right? Here's the thing: some of you make the presentation feel so heavy, and if you would pivot to a consultation where you were just simply asking questions and then walking them through the market stats and then having them make some decisions about their next move, so much of the pressure that you guys put on yourselves would evaporate, because it's not about a presentation, right? It's about being consultative. I meet with sellers, I shouldn't say all the time, I'm meeting with a seller tomorrow, right? And the seller I'm meeting with, I've never been to the house. I've never met them. I know absolutely nothing about anything except that they've been on the market and they haven't sold. And the listing agent is struggling. So we are having a Zoom meeting. And the only thing I will do to prepare for that is understand the market and look at some comps. It'll take me 10 or 12 minutes, maybe 15 to prep for that meeting. Everything else is me being a consultant. I'm curious, what have you experienced? I'm curious, what is the motivation to sell the property? I'm curious, what happens if the property doesn't sell for another 3 months? I'm curious, are you aware that X, Y, and Z is happening in the marketplace? Let's go through it. Do you have any questions? Based on all that information, what do you think the next steps are? Right? So we utilize tools that are already in our toolbox, but we come at it from a consultative angle. And so it's just asking them all the questions. Here's what's awesome. When you really make the pivot to being a consultant, you have to know way less. You don't have to know all the answers to the questions because you're the one asking the questions. They have to know the answers. And then you have to help guide them through their answers to come out with a result. Go ahead, Donna.
So just foreshadowing what's about to come, Rick is going to teach you a listing presentation that takes so much of the pressure off of the agent. Just like he just said, it is beautiful, it is streamlined, and if you will learn it and stick to it, you won't feel that way. Here's one other thought though. Every day you should be looking at the market to see what's come on, what's sold, what it's sold for, where it's located, how many bedrooms it has. So really all you're doing is updating. You should have in your head just a basic feel of what the price of this house should be because it's in your territory, your service area, which you're studying every day. It should just be like, okay, I need 15 minutes. Oh yes, on this street and that sold and that sold and that's perfect. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a good reminder, right? About staying current with current market conditions. And that is a daily thing. I mean, if you are in the market, that is a daily updating, right? Frankly, it's because I'm not in the field every single day anymore. It is one of those struggle points for me because I need to spend a little bit more time reinvesting in what's going on in the market and giving myself a little bit more knowledge and information because it's not necessarily something I'm doing every single day. I don't meet with buyers and sellers every single day anymore. And yet if you're meeting with buyers every single day or sellers every single day, that's that whole, you need to be fluent in the market, and fluency comes from daily. Make sense?
Yes, for sure.
Here's the other thing I would suggest to you. There's some kind of coaching rule of thumb that says if you're doing this as a full-time real estate agent, you should be doing your listing consult daily. Daily. And if it's not with an actual seller, it's with a colleague to practice it. Because if you have never done that, 30 days later, after you've done it every single day, I promise you, you will be more confident. Confidence doesn't just fall from the sky, right? You've got to work at creating that level of confidence. And as I mentioned to you last week, if as you practice and practice and practice, you still find that you're lacking some confidence, recognize that I have tons of confidence in each of you. And so just borrow my confidence for a little while, wear that hat, go get the job done, and then give it back. You can just borrow confidence, right? You just have to find somebody who has it in you. And I have confidence in each of you. So you have my permission to borrow my confidence in you. Go ahead and kill it, not the confidence, crush the appointment, and then just return it. It's a very small fee for that. Alrighty, so questions on expireds. Again, this is not an expireds class. It's just kind of we're touching on a bunch of business sources. And so the expireds conversation is a longer one. If you're interested in building business with expireds, we will host in the next 4 weeks or so an actual expired session so that you can come and get more scripts, ask more questions. We'll go through the objection handling for expireds, help you continue to push for that appointment. Here, you can write this one down. I like this one as an objection handler. Excuse me, as a close. Wow, Debbie, I am so glad I called today. It almost doesn't matter what Debbie says. Oh my goodness, I am so glad I called today. It definitely sounds like you and I should meet. Guys, positive things happen from that. Because the sellers then kind of think, oh, well, it sounds like he can help me. So maybe I should have a conversation. Questions, comments on expireds? Start working on those 4 or 5 questions up front because everything comes from there. Do you still want to sell your home? Oh, just one note. if someone says no, what do you do?
I'm surprised. It was on the market for, I don't know how many days. What made you decide not to sell it now?
So that's a great question. It's the wrong question, but it's a great question,
Okay.
right? And here's why it's the wrong question. Because think about what you're asking them to do. You're asking them to talk about their failure.
Mhm.
And you run the risk of having them feel like you're making them wrong,
Mhm.
right? The second you make somebody on the telephone feel wrong, you're done. By the way, that goes double for once you're actually face to face or Zoom to Zoom with a seller. The second you make them feel wrong, you've lost the business. They're on to somebody else. So when I teach you the seller scripts that Donna was talking about, there's nothing in them that ever makes somebody feel wrong. That doesn't mean that we just nod our head and agree with everything. But there are ways to challenge and ask questions without making people feel wrong. So I love that Karen's instinct was, let's ask another question instead of talking, right? Because that is that's a really good consultant's instinct. I would just tailor the question to something slightly different. And I'll give you a hint. You already know the answer. Are you interested in selling your home? No. I understand. I'm curious, had you sold your home, where were you headed to? It's the same script. Yes, no, go to hell. Regardless of the answer, we're going to move forward and gather some information and gather some data.
Mhm.
Now, one last little tidbit. Remember that it's important to address anything that happens that is human on the telephone. For example, if I call Debbie and say, is this Mrs. Orr? Yes, Mrs. Orr, this is Rick Scott with Keller Williams Realty. I'm sure you know by now that I saw your home come up as an expired property on the multiple listing service this morning. And I'm curious, are you still interested in getting your home sold? And she yells at me, what do you people care? No one cared when I was on the market last night. Now all of a sudden you care. Isn't that interesting? Okay, if there's an extreme reaction like that, guys, it's not human to ignore it. And if you want to send the message that you're not listening, go ahead and ignore that kind of reaction. And what I mean is, instead of ignoring it, I would address it. Oh my goodness, Mrs. Orr, it sounds to me like you might have had a not so great experience. I am so sorry. Let me be the first person to say, I am so sorry. On behalf of our entire industry, I am so sorry. I'm curious, if you don't mind my asking, had you sold your home, where were you headed? Again, it's the same script. I'm going to the same spot, but I'm first going to address the fact that Debbie sounds angry. Maybe I say, oh my goodness, Mrs. Orr, you sound terribly angry. I am so sorry. Is there anything I can do to help that? Go ahead, Deb.
So you may think that plowing through the script and continuing through the script with the same questions sounds unnatural. Stay on script. Acknowledge there's a process. Acknowledge that somebody just had a little meltdown, and yet get to the point. It's okay. It works.
And do you agree with the technique of not ignoring human behavior? Do you believe? Have you experienced that yourself, Debbie, when you're on the phone with with expireds, and how have you handled it? Similarly?
100%, exactly that way, and it disarms. It takes all the venom out. You can get. Now, sometimes does somebody hang up? Yeah, once in a while, very rarely. You can usually convert, and empathy, just a tiny bit of empathy. Don't get sucked into it, but just acknowledging that and then kind of staying on a positive track moving forward.
It's part of why I love the script of, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I called today.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And don't be afraid to infuse some humor, right? Don't be afraid to try and help people laugh a little bit.
And
Right?
at some point, do go ahead and say, how does that sound? Because then you need to take their temperature a little bit too. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's a great check-in script, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great check-in script.
Mm-hmm.
So again, don't be afraid to recognize what's human. Don't be afraid to inject some humor, right? And what do I mean by that? So every once in a while, someone might say something like, you know what? Oh my goodness, you know what? You real estate agents, I've had it up to here with you. I'm so sick and tired of the things that you say and the whatever, right? They kind of throw our industry under the bus. And so you could say something like, oh my goodness, Mrs. Orr, it sounds like you did not have a very positive experience. I am so sorry, again, on behalf of my entire industry. And believe me, I understand what you're saying. Trust me, I have to work in our industry every single day. I understand some of those frustrations. Right now I'm on her side. I'm willing to make her right in that scenario. I'm not going to continue bashing our industry. That doesn't move you forward. But I'm okay agreeing, because guys, every once in a while in our industry, does someone irritate you? Does someone do something that isn't professional, isn't based on fiduciary responsibilities, isn't smart? Of course. I don't think it's wrong to just agree sometimes. And for many of you, you get stuck when people start to come at you with accusations, or they lump you into the industry or whatever, all you realtors, you get stuck. You're not sure because you're like, oh, well, I am a realtor, so now what do I do? Right? It's like she caught you with your hand in a cookie jar. You're right, I am a realtor. I must be bad. What if you just made a joke? What if you just made light of it, not make light of the circumstances or Debbie's feelings, but you made light of whatever she's upset about, in terms of, you know what, trust me, I get it. I live inside this industry every day, and there are times that I'm as frustrated as you sound. I'm really glad I called today, because I think I can help. I'm curious, had you sold your home, where were you headed? What was bringing you there? When did you want to be there? Do you see how it literally takes people on a left-hand turn? They expect you to call and say, I'm a top producer, I can come and save you. Don't worry, list with me, list with me, list with me. I have buyers, right? I was holding all the buyers for your house in my pocket. Now that I see that it's expired, I'm going to let them all out. Right? That's what they expect. And when you make it all about them, and you acknowledge their feelings, and you acknowledge their frustration, and you ask what's important to them, and you ask them about why they were a seller to begin with, and then you say cool things about Omaha, because that's where they're headed, and you remind them of the importance of being with their family. I've already had conversations where people have said to me, yes, I need to move down to Florida because my daughter is pregnant with triplets, and she's due like in 30 days, and we need to be there to help. Wow, I understand. So I'm curious, I'm glad I called today. It sounds like I can assist. Would spending 20 or 30 minutes with me to understand how we could perhaps find you a buyer, say in the next 30 days, would that be a benefit to you? Well, no, we're not really interested in selling anymore. Oh, are you sure? What about those 3 babies that are about to be born? Right, so now that you know about the babies, you can keep kind of bringing that up. Wow, it sounded to me like there was some urgency in your voice, Debbie. Is the urgency around getting down to help your daughter? I can hear that that's weighing on you. I'm curious, what would kind of relieve you of that heaviness, that anxiety? Well, getting my home sold. Got it. Got it. The good news is that that's my expertise. I specialize in getting homes sold that didn't sell the first time around. And I am really glad I called today. Sounds like we should set up a 20 or 30-minute consultation, either via Zoom or in person, for us to review your motivation to sell this house and get you to Florida as quickly as possible. Does that sound like a plan? I have some time later at 3 or at 4:30. Which works best for you? Right? And you just pivot using the motivation as part of the conversation.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do when you call and the machine, get the machine? Do you leave a message?
Great question. So for expireds, the best script that I know is this one. Yes, hi, this is Rick Scott with Keller Williams Realty. I have a quick question about your home. If you can give me a call back at 203-247-3153. Thank you so much. I look forward to our call. Done. Too many of you pray that you get the answering machine, and then when it turns on, you decide to have this big long dialogue by yourself using the scripts or having the appointment on the machine, right? Because you're excited that no one actually picked up the phone. I understand all of you. I used to be you, right? I get it. And yet recognize that nobody ever listed a property because they got a voicemail. So don't be excited by voicemail. Leave a quick message. Why does that message work in the case of an expired listing?
You're creating curiosity.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Carol. Right? The seller's kind of like, oh, I wonder. Like maybe he's got a buyer. Maybe he has something. Maybe he has the magic bullet. Maybe whatever. And you'll be surprised how many times someone will actually call you back. Do you use that script to leave messages, Deb?
Are you talking to me?
It's the only message script that I do at this point, the only one. And if I don't feel like doing that, I don't leave a message.
Yeah. There's another school of thought that says if they don't answer, just hang up, right? Because you want to speak to them. That's the 3-ring rule, right? Have it ring 3 times. If nobody answers, move on to the next person and put that person on a callback list. Because getting somebody's machine doesn't really help you. You need to actually speak to them. Make sense? Was there a question in the chat about the script? Yeah, so it's a non-script script. Hi, this is Rick Scott with Keller Williams Realty. I had a quick question about your home. If you can give me a call back at this number. Thanks so much. I look forward to our conversation. Now remember, the older expireds, you're going to use a version of this depending, right? If you're going back 6 to 12 months, now you're calling and having conversation that says, yeah, hi, this is Rick Scott with Keller Williams Realty. I noticed that you were on the market last year and the property did not sell. I'm curious, what was pushing you to be a seller last year? Right? Are you still looking to get your home sold? Are you interested? What was pushing you to be a seller last year? Ah, got it. Where were you headed? What was taking you there? Right? So you kind of get into the same motivation questions, but you just get there a little bit differently. Any other questions on expireds?
No, Rick, but I do have a question that I needed you to follow up on since you're on script was how to steer them back on script. So let's say you're using that example and you're talking about the expired and they go off on a different note. How do you steer them back on script to kind of stay in conversation and stay in line? Like what is the strategy you use?
So great question. So Nicole's question is how do you keep them on script, right? They haven't memorized their lines, right? Here's the good news. The good news is that these scripts are built in such a way that the questions that are asked typically will elicit a similar response from each person. Where they may be going may be different, right? And maybe you have someone that says, oh, I'm going down to Florida, and I'm going down to Florida because of this, that, and the other thing. And here's why I love Florida. And I was born in Florida and I grew up there. And, you know, my third grade teacher, she also lives in this particular, like all of a sudden you're. And so at some point you may have to pull somebody back. And part of the way you do that is just acknowledge what they've just said. Wow, that sounds lovely. I'm curious, when did you need to be there? Right? So you do the pulling back and then by asking the next question. Sometimes when people ask different, when they answer your question with a question because they have a different agenda as you, I'll give you a quick strategy. I call it the Ronald Reagan strategy, because for those of you who remember Ronald Reagan as the president, now I was a teenager, so I don't remember him all that well. And yet, one of the things that Ronald Reagan was really good at when he was holding press conferences and someone would ask a question that he wasn't interested in answering, he would say something to the effect of, you know, that's a great question. Let me just jot that down right here. We're going to get to that a little bit later. And he'd move on with what he wanted to talk about. Right? So it's a great strategy to help stay on track, is that when people ask a certain question, right? How many times in a listing consult where you're beginning the conversation and someone says, well, what's the commission? Yeah, that is a great question. And we will absolutely get there. And just to be certain, I'm going to jot that down here, that is a concern of yours, just to be certain that but we absolutely will get there. Now back to our script, right? So that's a strategy you can use to help kind of keep people on track. The main idea of keeping people on track is you keep you on track. When you keep you on track and you get to ask the next question, remember the person who asks the questions drives the bus. So if all of a sudden you start feeling like the control, you're losing control, it's because now the person sitting across from you or on the Zoom with you is asking the questions and you're simply pushing back answers. You need to kind of climb around that, come back to asking some of the questions. Right, I might even at that point simply say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it sounds like you have a long list of questions to answer. My thought is this: the process that we're about to embark on will answer 95 to 100% of the questions that you may have. So let's do this. Let's begin that process and get most of the way through it. If there's something that isn't answered throughout this process, I will absolutely be happy to answer that solo. Right? Redirect them to the process, because the reality is the process does answer all the questions, right? Or at least answers 98% of them. Does that help, Nicole?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, let's take a quick tangent on for sale by owners. Would that be all right? Give you a little strategy for sale by owners. Because for sale by owners, ultimately, want one thing. What do they want?
Save commission.
That is not they also want that, but what is the one thing that they really want?
Sell their house.
They want to sell their house.
Oh.
So the strategy that I encourage you to use with for sale by owners is to do everything you can possibly do to help them achieve their goal. That may sound completely bonkers. It may sound completely counterintuitive, but I will tell you this strategy works. So I'll give you an idea of how it goes. Right, so say Stuart is the for sale by owner, and I call Stuart because I see his sign out and say, yes, hi, is this the owner of 123 Main Street? I couldn't help but notice that you're looking to sell your home. By the way, for me, I never call a for sale by owner as on the market. To me, they are selling their home. Properties listed with realtors are on the market. So I never say things like, I noticed your house was on the market. Because if he's a for sale by owner, I didn't notice it on the market. I see that you're looking to sell your home. I'm curious, how is that going? I don't want a listing agent. I completely understand. I was actually calling today to just see if I could offer some assistance, as well as understand whether or not, should I come across a buyer, if you would be interested in having me show the buyer your property. All right, so I'm just going to feel Stuart out a little bit. Is he protecting brokers? Right, what does protecting brokers mean with a for sale by owner? It means that Stuart is willing to pay the buy side commission. He's just not willing to have a listing agent and pay the listing agent on his side. Some for sale by owners protect brokers and are willing to pay X on the buy side. Some are not. So that's a question I might ask. And so I'll just spend a few minutes on the phone, making sure Stuart knows who I am. Never ask him to list the property. Instead, wish him the absolute best of luck. Stuart, let me leave you my number if it's okay. If you have any questions, again, I do this for a living, so I do this every day. If you ever have any questions or want to bounce something off me, I'm more than happy to assist in whatever way I can. Good luck. Bye-bye. So I have a little bit of info. I've introduced myself, and then I let a week go by. And now I start my Monday morning follow-ups. So now every single Monday, I'm going to call Stuart, and I'm going to say the following. Hey, Stuart, it's Rick Scott at Keller Williams Realty. How are you this morning? Hey, I'm curious, Stuart, is the house sold? And you ask it just that way, excitedly, as if Stuart is going to tell you yes. Is the house sold? Stuart says, no. Ah, man. Hey, I'm curious, what was your traffic like this weekend?
Was light, none.
Got it. Hey, anything I can do to help get you the result that you're looking for? And Stuart says, no, thank you though, but I appreciate it. Great, well, you know where to find me if you need me. Have a great week, bye. I let another week go by. Next Monday morning I call, hey Stuart, it's Rick Scott, Keller Williams Realty. Hey, is the house sold?
Still nothing.
Oh man, I am so sorry to hear that. Hey, I'm curious, what was your traffic like this weekend?
None at all.
Oh my goodness me. We were busier than a one-arm paper hanger. Yikes. Well, I am so sorry to hear that. Hey, look, is there anything I can do to help you out? And Stuart says no again, because he's stubborn. Great, well, you know where to find me. I'm more than happy to help. Have a great week. That's my Monday morning call until Stuart either tells me one Monday that he did sell the house, and then I am genuinely excited for him. That's awesome. I am so glad to hear it. Hey, is there anything I can do to help you make sure that you get to the closing table? Hey, now that your house is sold, were there any buyers that came through that you had their contact info for that weren't represented by a real estate agent that you'd be willing to share their info with me? I'd love to go and help them out and find a house now that yours is spoken for. Or whatever. Or at some point, if Stuart's still not sold, the answer could be, well, I'm just not sure what I'm doing wrong. Got it. You know what? I hear that a lot from potential sellers. There could be a whole bunch of things that we could do differently together. I'm curious, does it make sense for us to have a 20 or 30-minute consultation around getting your home sold? And then Stuart's just going to make a decision. He's either going to meet with me or he's not. Well, I did have one question, Rick. I don't think I want to meet with you, but I did have one question. Somebody asked me about some forms or something about a property disclosure. Yeah, there's actually a couple of different forms, a state form, a federal form, a couple of different other forms that you might need to be aware of. Do you not have any of those forms, Stuart? Oh, well, no. Would it be helpful if I sent them? I'd be happy to send you a version, a blank copy of those forms. However, you probably should get some legal advice prior to sitting down and actually filling them out. I'm just going to keep helping, because at some point on a Monday morning, either the house is going to be sold or Stuart's going to say, please come and just do this for me, please. I give up. I wave the white flag. And the reason it's every single Monday is because even if other people are calling, once the for sale by owner goes, quote unquote, on the market, by week 3 or 4, you're the only one who's still calling. And you're the only one who didn't call Stuart and tell him what a mistake he was making by not listing it with a realtor. You're the only one who didn't call and make him feel stupid for going the path that he went. You're the only one who didn't call to say, don't you know statistically that you'll make X more amount of dollars if in fact you hire a realtor? Don't you know statistically that all those horrible for sale by owner scripts? I don't understand why anyone thinks that's a good idea. Instead of just calling and being helpful. Remember we talked yesterday about you converting at open houses, and the best way to do that is when someone walks in, don't try and get them as a client. Just help them buy a house. Assume they're already your client and offer them services and helpful hints and strategies and tools. It's the same thing with the for sale by owner. The more you offer your help without asking for the business, the more respect that the for sale by owner has for you. And so when it's time, they call you. And the good news is they know you're going to call on Monday morning. So even if it's time on Saturday or Sunday, they're just going to wait for your call on Monday and say, please come and help me. You see how that works? What do you think of that strategy?
I think it's better than what I used.
I can tell you it gets results. It definitely gets results. Right? And you can see why it gets results. Because instead of being a real estate agent, you're just being a human. So much of this business is about being human first, being a real estate agent second. You should probably write that down. That was pretty important what I just said. And it's 100% true. The more you can train yourself to be human first and then follow up with the business, people will be attracted to you. People will say yes to you. People will believe you because you are authentic. People will trust the things that you say. One of the reasons that Stuart, over 4 weeks, decided to finally say, you know what, please come and help me, is because every time I called, he expected me to give him the come list with me speech. And one of the best ways to create trust with people is to say or do something that they are just not expecting. And so every time I called, and Stuart was like, oh, here it comes. I know it. Guy's a real estate agent. He didn't do it last week, but he's certainly doing it this week. And I don't do it again and again and again. By week 3 or 4, Stuart's like, okay, This is like the nicest human being on the planet. All he wants to do is help me sell my house. I love this guy. And I'm frustrated enough to now ask for help. Yes, ma'am, Debbie.
And this is really true. When you have spoken to somebody for two or three times, there is some kind of, I'll call it a bond. You have a bit of a relationship, and you start to be able to have kind of regular, normal, semi-scripted conversations. It's really a interesting phenomena.
And it's what Debbie just said is the reason why scripts work, right? Because there is something that has to do with psychology and how the brain works built into all this. And how the brain works in that scenario I just gave you is trust, 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 want to help, want to help, want to help, want to help. Not, oh, don't take the call. Don't take the call. Reject. Used car salesman. Only out for himself. Clearly I'm a target, right? Those are two very different approaches. You get further faster with the be human, be the nice person. Just help. And again, if you take nothing else away from our time together tonight, be careful about making people wrong. The things that you say can be heard, certain things you say can be heard by potential sellers as you making them wrong. Such as me saying, do you know the statistics, Mr. Gertz, about the success rate of for sale by owners? Well, at some point, Stuart thinks of about that question and thinks, well, what he's really saying is, what a dope am I to not list with a realtor? See, that's exactly why I didn't, because I don't like those realtor people, right? All I'm doing is helping him underscore why he chose to be a for sale by owner to begin with. Because he sees no value in the services we provide. So let's just show him value. Give him some services. Give him some services for free. People always freak out when I say, send them the forms. Can we do that? Of course you can. I'm not going to do it without advising he speak to his attorney. I don't want him to fill them out incorrectly, right? That would be setting him up for failure. So if I send him the forms, I would absolutely encourage him to get some help with them. It also opens the door for, well, is that something you can assist with? Yeah, that's a great question. It is part of the listing services I provide, is to kind of go through all the documentation. Is that something that you're interested in discussing? I wouldn't ask it until he asked me.
What if he said, no, or just do it for me right here?
Well, so I so appreciate that, Stuart. Unfortunately, that's outside of the scope of what I'm licensed to assist you with without an agency agreement in place. Right? Now I'm just going to regurgitate the law for all intents and purposes, right? Utilizing that script. Have you written down that script yet? Because that's one that gets you out of trouble, right? That's your get out of trouble script. Unfortunately, that's outside of the scope of what I'm licensed to assist you with, outside of an existing agency relationship. Oh, well, what does that mean? Well, it means you could certainly hire me to assist you with that, but until that happens, I'm really not permitted to kind of give you advice on those, which is, again, I'm happy to send them to you, but you could certainly get that advice from your attorney if you so chose. Oh, I probably have to pay my attorney. Yeah, perhaps. I'm curious, anything else I can help with? No, I think that's it for today. Okay. And then we're off till next Monday. Right? All right, guys, it is 6 o'clock. So tomorrow, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the 36 Touch program for your database. We're going to go through agent-to-agent referrals. We're going to go through farming. We're going to go through orphans, raving fans, and social media. We hope that Nellie gets where she's going. Turn left and right, Nellie, in case you didn't hear. And,
Thank you.
and then,
Thank you so much. I'm driving.
no worries. And then we're going to start in on our seller unit, right? So we'll finish tomorrow with a discussion on sellers. I'll give you the scripts. We'll review the scripts, and then we'll take the ramp on. And then we'll spend the weekend kind of reviewing those scripts, and then start in full-fledged on those scripts on next Tuesday. So guys, I hope this was helpful to you. Have a great evening. Thank you so much for your time and attention and questions and input. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Pat, go ahead and memorize those notes. I'm glad you took those notes. Now we got to put it into action, right?
By 95 South toward Enlock City.
All right, guys, have a good night. See you tomorrow. Don't forget tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, via Williams. You don't want to miss it.